So I was like, I want to make a blanket, not a wall-to-wall carpet. Well, happy holidays, everyone. And today I have a little story for you. So it took me about 6 months to decide to convince myself that I wanted to, or that I needed to, make a temperature blanket. And I kept thinking about this, so I was like, I want to make a blanket, not a wall-to-wall carpet. And a year-long project that was like, ooh, a little tough one to try to convince myself to do. And yeah, so it took a little while for me to talk myself into it. I mean, because, you want to make a blanket, not a wall-to-wall carpet. And 365 rows or more if you decide to put a border in between each month. And then being committed to some form of single crochet, because otherwise it'd just be massive. I mean, it would be absolutely massive. So I made the decision that, okay, we're going to do this. So I went online because, of course, locally, I'm not going to find any yarn. It just isn't going to happen. I have Walmart, or I can drive for 45 minutes to an hour to get to Hobby Lobby, which, yeah, I like, but I didn't want to be really super limited on my palette. I could also go the other direction and end up at a Michael's, which I don't really like their yarn choices, but that's beside the point. And I think a Joann's would be like really, really far to find one. So I'm left with online choices. So I check out Lion Brand. Well, first let me say, in this thought process of mine that I didn't want to make a wall-to-wall carpet, so I decided that it has to be a DK yarn. Because if I use a worsted or bigger, it would just be massive. I mean, just massive, and it wouldn't be functional. So I decided it has to be a DK yarn. I need to be able to use a 4 to a 4.5 millimeter hook. Much smaller than that kind of tends to make the hands achy. And I decided, I don't have to pick this thing up every single day and work on it. I can do it once a week, like, on Sunday or Monday, and just, do 7 rows and be finished with it for the week. So I went online, I checked Lion Brand, their DK choices, and they really didn't have that big of a color variety. I checked Premier Yarns, and they really didn't have that big of a color variety, because my original intention was I wanted to pick one color and just do multiple shades, but nobody had enough colors to do that. Because why not? I mean, do you know of a place? Is there somewhere that you shop online or in person that you can go in and say you wanted to use green, where you can get 10 to 15 shades of green to do something like this? I mean, I was unable. So, but if you know of a website, link it, or don't link it, but tell me in the description down below if you know of a website where you can go to and get, 10 to 15 shades of a color, like whether it's green or yellows or purples or reds or whatever, where you can do something like that and just kind of like have this ombre effect going on or something. So I did a little research. I went on Weather Underground, and I'm like, okay, I can get all my information here if I can't keep up with it daily. Do I want to use the low? Do I want to use the high? Do I want to use the average temperature? So I decided on average. So I went on Hobby, however you pronounce it. You can tell me that down below too. Because I knew that they had a brand, Amigo, in the DK that I have used before, that they have a fairly decent color assortment, but I still couldn't do what I originally wanted to do with the, all one color but different shades. So I ended up, because I had a few skeins here, not the colors that I wanted, but I could sit there and do samples to see what kind of stitch I would want to do and try and calculate how big it would come out. So I played around with, different stitches, like doing a chevron. And this one I did like all back post, regular all back post. And then I thought to myself, with all those different color changes, would adding texture be too much? I don't know, because I've never made one before. And like I said, it took quite a bit to talk myself into doing this. So, and then I did a little swatch with this where I tried to do like a checkerboard, like one check is all front loop only, and one is all back loop and then front loop. And then I thought to myself, that's a lot of counting to keep track to make the pattern. So I don't know if I want to do that. And then my stitch dictionary book has one that's called the sprig stitch, which I think is pretty. It has a lot of texture to it. And it's still done in a single crochet. It's kind of like single crochet shells. And I kind of like this one, but then I thought, it's going to come out really big. So I don't know. And then I was like, well, there's always the linen stitch. Now, of course, these colors don't go together, but I was just playing with what I had. And so I was messing around with the linen stitch, which would work. And this was another one with the linen stitch. And then I did one where it was all back loop only. So I still have to decide. I'm leaning towards either the little chevron or the linen stitch, but I haven't really decided yet. So I make myself a little chart, temperature chart with my ranges. And I said, okay, I need this many colors. So I go on Hobie and I order some colors. Now, mind you, this is early November. We get a cool front, and I thought to myself, oh no, I didn't order enough cool colors. So I go back. Now, this is the very next day. So I go back on and I order some more. And then I'm sitting there and I'm talking with my daughter about it. And I'm like, you know what would be cool is if I compared my birth year to current year and like show the differences in the temperatures with climate change. So I go in and I'm like looking, I go on to Weather Underground and I'm looking at, I just pulled up August because that was my birth month, and I pulled it up for Tampa because I was born in Tampa and I don't live very far from Tampa, about 45 minutes or so, an hour away. And I looked at August and I'm like, wow, no wonder I always say I don't remember it being this hot when I was a kid. But I was looking at averages, not at the high for the day. So like the high average was 85, I think. And then I compared 2022 and the high average was like 88. So then in my mind, I'm saying, well, if I do it in 10 degrees for a color change, we'll never change colors. Once we hit those summer months, it's going to be this solid block of colors. So I'm like, okay, we need to do it in 5 degrees. So I go back to my chart and I break it up to 5 degrees, which meant I needed to add more colors. Now, mind you, this is day 3 or day 4 of figuring out what yarn I'm going to use. So I go back on the website and I order some more, and I might have got a little carried away. I got a lot of yarn. And I have 15 different colors. One of them is for a border, so I'm not even going to include this in. But this was my chart that I made. I did it in the little 5-degree increments. And so I make the chart, I break it down, I assign it the colors, I printed out I made the chart on the computer. And I printed it out on some cardstock, and I'm like, this is going to tear. So I go to get out my laminating machine and the film, and I know where the machine is, but for the life of me, could not find the film. I'm like, really? Really? So I couldn't find it. So I did it old school. I broke out the packing tape and just made strips, or taped across the front and the back with strips to laminate it to help protect it a little more. And then I couldn't find my hole punch to punch holes in it to tie the little colors on. So I took a regular sewing needle and punched through to start the hole, and then used a yarn needle to pull the yarns through. But then those were my 14 colors, which, let me tell you, on the computer, the colors look way different than they do in person. Now, I'm not totally dissatisfied. There are a couple here that I could be like, I could live without. And then there are some that are just gorgeous. So what I decided to do is anything that's 34 degrees or less gets this silver blue. And like I said, it's a DK. It says to use a 4 to a 5 millimeter hook. So I figured my 4.5 would be perfect with it. And you only get 191 yards on a skein. And I think that was part of my problem. And these are small. I don't have a regular sized yarn thing, but like, it's small. And I think that's where I came into this problem. Like, I don't have enough. I have to order more, because if I run out, and like say I do the cool months, January, February, March, and then November comes around and we start getting cool weather again, and I'm out and they don't have the color available. So there was that little sense of panic where if I start this project, I really want to finish it, and I don't want to not be able to get my colors. So I'm sure I overordered. I'm sure I'll have DK yarn coming out of my ears. So anyways, this is for 34 degrees or less. And that's, it's silver blue, but it's color number 13 on Hobby, or Hobby. Hobby. 35 to 39 degrees, we go to sky blue, and it is color number 16. The Amigo yarn. See, even sitting here and seeing it on my camera versus in my hand, the color is way different. Then 40 degrees to 44 degrees is cornflower. And 45 to 49 is this darker blue, cobalt blue, number 18. So that's colors number 13, 16, 17, and 18 for Hobby. So then I thought, okay, when we start getting into nicer weather, more springy weather, we need to switch to greens. Now, of course, like I said, this was not my original plan because I wanted to do more of an ombre effect. I just couldn't find the yarn. Oh, I really need to get my hair cut. It's getting way too long. So the spring months, again, we're starting to get into nicer weather, and you know, all the plants and everything are growing. So I was like, we need to switch to some greens. So I didn't want pinks. I didn't want purples. You know, I really couldn't get what I wanted, but we're going to make this work. So for 50 to 54 degrees, it is this mint color. 55 to 59, oh, the mint is color number 29. 55 to 59 is verdigris. I think I'm saying that right. Now this color green, I kind of like. It reminds me a little bit of a sage green. and it is color number 25. Then 60 to 64 degrees, I picked this dusty green, which I like this green too. And it is color number 27. And then I needed one more green, and they didn't have much of a selection of green. So for 65 to 69 degrees, color number 28 is a hunter green. So there's a few darker colors. I like more muted than bright, if that makes sense. Just, you know, it'd be kind of like using a flat paint versus a high gloss paint. I'm the flat paint kind of girl. So those are my spring colors. Then we're going to start getting into the warmer weather. Well, still nice, but you know, warming up. So we start hitting 70 degrees and up. So 70 to 74 is color number 36. And it is called Sunflower, which is showing up very bright on camera. I mean, it's bright, but not as bright as it's showing up on there. 75 to 79. I'm in the yellow family, so I'm shopping yellows. And the color is like way different on the computer because this looks orange to me. But we're going to use it. 75 to 79 degrees is color number 37, and it's called Egg Yolk. And it looks very orange and not yellow like it did on the computer. But I'm okay with that because I like yellows and oranges. I do. Now I'm still shopping the yellows, and for 80 to 84 degrees, the color is called Curry. It is number 38. And on the computer, it looked more like a mustard yellow. I'm not quite sure what to call this. I mean, it's an interesting color. I think it's more in a brown family than the yellow family, or right there on the verge of transitioning. But, I mean, I don't mind the color. It just didn't look the way it did on the computer. 85 to 89 degrees is color number 39, Cognac. And this is definitely more towards the browns, but it was in their yellow family. I'm not unhappy with this color either. So that was 85 to 89. And then we go 90 to 94 and 95 and over. And I'm not sure, even though I'm here in Florida, that by using the average temperatures that these two colors will ever touch the blanket. So 90 to 94 is color number 40. It is a rust. I think it's a very pretty rust color. So if it never hits the blanket, I'm okay with that because I can use this on something else because I really do like the color. And then 95 and higher was, I didn't want a bright red, but it's a dark red. And I won't be unhappy if this doesn't hit the blanket either because I really like the color and I can definitely use this on something else. Now the 15th color I brought, I didn't bring out here because it's maybe going to be the border depending on what stitch I decide to use. And it's a brown color. I didn't even write it down on my little chart. So I also bought myself a little pocket calendar. Oh, look at the little puppies. Aren't they cute? I bought myself a little pocket calendar, and I've already gone onto Weather Underground, and I wrote in my average temperatures for that date. And that's where I realized I may never get to use those other colors. But like I said, I won't be upset about it because I do like them and they can be used for something else. So I'm all prepared. What I decided when I was trying to convince myself to do this blanket was, okay, I still have to decide on the stitch. We know that. And so what I decided to do was do the comparison of, you know, my birth year versus current year and try to show the difference between the temperatures over the years. And it will be over 50 years difference. We'll just say that. I don't want to give away my age. So it'll be over 50-year difference. And so it should come out interesting, especially doing it in the 5-degree increments. So then I thought, do I want to have to change colors in the middle of a row after you're changing colors on, you know, however often, you know, like maybe every row, every 2 rows, every 2 or 3 rows. And I almost talked myself out of doing it this way. And then I decided, okay, we'll do 2 separate panels and we'll just stitch them together up the middle. And then I'm going to order little tags like this is the birth year and this is the current year, so that I can label it on the blanket so that if anybody looks at it, they'll be able to figure out what's going on. Like, how come this half looks so much different than this half? It was just a thought. I thought it would be something a little different, you know. I'm going to do it for the first time, so let's make it as complicated as possible, right? So, yeah. I could definitely use some help on figuring out where I could go, what website I could go to that is reasonably priced, that has a nice, decent yarn, where I could get, say, 10 shades of a green or 10 shades of a yellow or 10 shades of a blue and be able to do something like that. Because my normal go-to places, they don't have them. They don't have them. But I'm going to be happy with what I have. It's going to definitely be a lot more colorful than I anticipated because I couldn't find what I wanted. But I'm okay with that. I can use a little color in my life. And I hope I explained this well enough on what my plan is. And I will definitely be doing some updates for you so you can see the progress of birth year versus current year. And now I could have got through this faster than a year's time if I would have said, you know, my birth year versus 2022. But I wanted to have it for a project for next year, which is almost here. And yeah, and I was panicking about that because I ordered my yarn like mid-November, and it was 3 separate orders because I panicked. I didn't think I had enough. Well, I panicked because we got cool weather and I didn't think I had enough cool weather colors. And then I changed my mind on how I was going to do it. So I needed more different colors so that I could do the 5-degree increments. And so I placed a 3rd order. If I would have ordered it all at once, I would have got free shipping, but instead it ended up costing me $27 in shipping. You know, well, $30 almost, because it was $9.99 for each order. But, you know, it's coming from Denmark, and they're usually really quick. I've ordered from them several times before, and it's like, wow, I'm amazed at how fast it got here. But this time, because of the holidays, wow. I ordered mid-November, and like December 12th, I got the first bag, which was the 2nd order. I hadn't even gotten the 1st order yet. And then I waited several days and was starting to panic because all it was saying when you checked the tracking was that it's arrived in the country of origin. And I'm like, oh no, it's not going to get here. I'll start off this project in the weeds, way behind. But they finally got here, safe and sound. Just took a while, but that's okay. So, have you ever made a temperature blanket or wall-to-wall carpet, depending on the size of the yarn that you use? And I'm kind of bummed that I feel like I'm going to be limited to using some form of single crochet. But I couldn't imagine how big 365 plus rows would be if you used a double crochet of some form, or even a half double crochet, because that, you know, is definitely stands taller than a single. So yeah. Anywho, so thank you everyone for all your support throughout the year, and I hope you all have a happy, wonderful holiday season and a great new year. If you click right here, you'll find another one of my project ideas.